Okay, I'd like to call the City Council meeting of March 7th, 2024 to order. Roll call, please.
Alderwoman Ames. Here. Alderman Catalano.
Here.
Alderman Curielli.
Here.
Alderman Jacob.
Here.
Alderman Messina.
Here.
Alderman Sismarski.
Here.
Alderman Hartwoods.
Here.
Alderman Hardy-Woods.
Here.
Mayor, please.
Here, I declare a quorum. Before we stand, I'd like to first recognize March 10th through 16th is National Girl Scout Week, and today we welcome Wooddale Girl Troop 56669 to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if we could please stand in the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you girls would like to take a picture with the council, if we can, the council, tighten up over here.
Stand against the wall and look towards me. Trust the magic.
Can you get all the kids?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. All right, pause 1 second. To our friend at the end, can we come over on this side? Thank you. All right, can we say on the count of 3, on my honor? 1, 2, 3. On my honor. Beautiful. Congratulations. Thank you.
Does anybody want to speak on behalf of the Girl Scouts? Troop leader? You can go to the microphone over there.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having Troop 56669 at your meeting today and for recognizing us. This is our first year bringing Girl Scouts back to Wooddale, and we're so excited. And the girls have had a great time so far. We've earned a space badge, learning all about space. We're talking about knowing our emotions and being in control of ourselves. We had some stupendous cookie sales, and we appreciate everyone who was at Bentley's and Christie's and bought cookies from us. And we're going to use the money to do something exciting for the girls and also to give back to our community. We're giving some of our cookie donation money to the Wooddale Bensonville Food Pantry, and the girls have a list of other things they'd like to do for the community. So we're started strong. We're looking forward to an exciting next year. And thank you again on behalf of the other troop leaders and myself for having us here.
Do you need any more pictures? You're good? Okay. Thank you, girls. Have a good night. Goodbye. You can go. Unless you guys want to watch the meeting, there's a little bit of that. Thank you. Okay, next, I need a motion to approve the minutes of February 15, 2024.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Comments, questions, or corrections? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes. Okay. We do have some citizens that wish to be heard this evening. We'll start with Barbara.
My name is Barbara Cascio. I live at 465 East Montrose. I'm a resident for 30 years. I'm also a retired police officer. I served 30 years with the Village of Franklin Park. My last appointment was the assignment of Deputy Chief of Police. I come here tonight regarding, first of all, I'd like to say good evening to the mayor, to all the city council members, and to the city officials in attendance. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I come here tonight in regard to the property located at 472 Dunley, known as the Oxford Rollo Home, a self-run home for recovering alcoholics and drug addicts. When surrounding neighbors learned about the Oxford house, we also learned the owner, Mr. Helkelson, purchased the home on March 1st, 2022. He recorded the sale of the home on March 25th, 2022, and by April 1st, he swiftly made it the Oxford Rollo Home and chartered it, allowing 11 male occupants to reside in the home. Mr. Helkelson claims this home is purely for use of rental property. Many citizens brought the rental property issue and concerns of what the Oxford house was to the city of Wooddale in 2022. I want to thank the city for all the work that they put into investigating as to whether a rental property of this nature could be established in a residentially zoned area and under what guidelines. I want to especially thank our Alderman Randy Messina and Peter Jacob for taking it seriously and all our concerns, and also Mr. Patrick Bond, the city attorney, for researching options for this type of rental property. It took time, and of course that is understandable, but eventually Mr. Bond was very kind, and he actually called me to explain that the Wooddale City's ordinance for these types of rental properties was a bit vague, but since then they have tightened their ordinance, and going forward, it makes these type of places difficult to be rental properties to exist in the city of Wooddale. But unfortunately, this property would have to be grandfathered in. We understood the situation. We weren't happy about it, but we told about 3 blocks of our neighbors, a lot of them are all in attendance today, as you can see, that we had to live with it. However, since that time, there have been some issues that have arisen, such as tax exemptions. The Homestead Act and the Senior Freeze exemptions were brought to the attention of the DuPage County Tax Assessor's Office. Mr. Helkelson will no longer be receiving them, as he does not actually reside there, and therefore is not eligible for any exemptions from that property, according to the Assessor's Office. Also, we made a notice to the to the city, and about the zoning violations, and I know the city's working on some of those violations, and we thank you for that as well. We're confused a little bit about residential versus rental. For one point, Mr. Helkelson was using the property to gain his tax exemptions as a residential property. Now we stopped him to do that. Is it a residential property, or is it considered a rental property? We're all aware of the incident that recently occurred with the residents at the Oxford House, where ultimately an individual was charged with several serious offenses, including 1 count of armed habitual criminal, a Class X felony, 1 count of unlawful possession of a weapon by a felon, a Class 2 felony, and 1 count of reckless discharge of firearm, a Class 4 felony. Said individual has been was said to have discharged a weapon inside the residence, according to the DuPage County State's Attorney's Office, Mr. Robert Berlin, and Wooddale Police Chief Zito. And said individual has an extensive criminal history, including multiple felony convictions. I understand said individual is presumed innocent and entitled to a fair trial, as it is the government's burden to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, which we hope that occurs. We want to thank the DuPage County State Attorney's Office, Chief Zito, and the men and women of the Wooddale Police Department for acting swiftly in this situation. We believe Chief Zito and the City of Wooddale want to ensure the safety and well-being for all residents of the community, and to continue to work diligently to protect everyone from harm, and we thank you very much for that. Having said that, we also understand that the people who live in the Oxford home are considered, quote, a protective class. But what about the people who live next to the Oxford home, across the street and behind it? What are we considered? As I stated earlier, I'm a retired police officer. I can legally carry and possess a gun. I have to tell you, I'm very, very concerned now, even more so, for the citizens who live on that block and neighboring communities as well. There's also a park for children on the end of Dunley. There's a park just north of there. There's also a bus stop for children to come and go 3 houses down from the Oxford home. Now the people that live on that block, most of which are here, are very concerned for their children and for themselves. I've talked to several of the people who live there. They don't want their children to walk past the house anymore. They don't want them to go to the bus stop, and they don't want them to use the parks anymore. I think if all of you lived on this block, you would be very concerned as well. I would like to ask the city if they could please take a look at what is the definition of a rental property and how Mr. Helkelson is actually using said property. Is a property truly being legally used as a rental property? What is deemed rental property under the city ordinances? Is this property being treated as a short-term rental property, and what are those guidelines? How many people can legally reside there, and how are they being vetted? Can the owner, Mr. Helkelson, be made accountable through lease agreements as to how long people actually reside there? Because these alleged renters appear to be coming and going frequently and not living there for a long-term basis. As their site states, the Oxford House quotes, "Make good neighbors and increase the property values of the homes around it." The site also preaches, quote, "We're good neighbors," and under the information of neighbor section. Really? Good neighbors? Mayor, City Council, and Mr. Bond, can you please assist us to ensure the Oxford House remains in compliance with the city's guidelines and inform Mr. Helkelson of our concerns for the safety, as it appears he is not living up to the Oxford motto, good neighbors. For that matter, he's not even a neighbor because he doesn't live there. Thank you very much for everything you can do, everything you have done, and everything you can do going forward to ensure the safety of all the people who live in that block, particularly the children. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next, Valerie?
I'm Valerie Foley. I live at
Oh,
473.
Okay, you could just go to the microphone.
Hello, I'm Valerie Foley, and I live at 473 East Montrose Avenue. So my house backs up to their house, one house over. I have 19 cameras on my house because what happened was, when I was doing my lawn, how it first started, I found out that it was Oxford House, is because one of them came up to me. Each time I go on my deck, including this weekend, I get stared at. I can't even move to around my property without one of them coming outside and looking at me, okay? Or commenting, and then the rest of them come out. It's not fair to me. I'm concerned about property value, and mostly I'm concerned about everybody's safety. It's not only me, it's everybody that's around that area. They walk, a lot of them don't even have cars. We don't even know who our neighbors are. And also, if there's felons living in that building or property or real estate, why is it that if Oxford House is responsible for saying, oh, there's not going to be felons, no more than 9 months in jail, that there is felons living there? Why is there felons living there? On their website, it specifically states that there's only supposed to be up to 9 months of somebody in jail. And then you have felons living there, and they're not supposed to be felons. So they're not even actually screening their own people that are living there. So what makes me think that if he was a felon, there's not other felons living there? Look, I don't care what they do, but they shouldn't have felons there, and you let this happen to us. We asked you. I contacted Bond. I contacted how many times the city. I have 19 cameras, as I said, and so far I still see them there. And each time they rotate, they consistently rotate people. Would you want them living next to you or behind you, alongside you, bringing down your property value or feeling intimidated each and every time you go out of your house? You have eyes on you, eyes that you know are criminals looking at you. Because that's what I go through every single day living there. And I pay a lot of money in taxes to be insulted and to be intimidated. So I hope you do something this time, because right now nothing has been done since I reported it. Nothing. All I do is see people changing in and out, and now they're on the news where everybody knows that you have shootings in Wooddale. Are you proud of this? Because you let this happen. Shootings, and they're behind my house. How am I going to even sell my house if I want to sell it? We're knowing that there's shootings there. And now you've got Fenton High School with a bunch of pedophiles. So how are we going to even sell it? Because our school district, we send our kids to Fenton High School, right? So you tell me something needs to be done over here. And it needs to be done quick. So you need to find something with these felons living in this house. And the stairs that they put in there, they did a shoddy job. They put it in when it was ice cold out, and it's not cement, it's steps. I watched the whole thing and I videotaped it. As I said, I got 19 cameras, and they didn't even follow it. And did you even send an inspector out to check those steps? So what I have to say is I hope somebody does something soon before somebody gets killed, murdered, raped, or worse happens. I don't know what else could happen, but I'm sure it's going to happen with who I see going in and out of there.
And next, Michael Tannhauser.
My name is Michael Tannhauser. I've been resident of Wooddale 472 Dunley for almost 34 years. I was here at the council meeting almost a year and a half ago when we first found out that my neighbor's house, who was told me was sold to an individual, became Oxford House. Now we have a problem. At that time, we were told that they were going to check in on the zoning. I understand from Barbara and the rest of the neighbors that you've tightened up your zoning restrictions. My concern is the number of vehicles that are currently at this address. It's constant. It's like a parking garage. Cars are in and out. They're on the street. You have at least 9, maybe 10 cars at a time with the residents living in that facility. My concern is, how are these people being vetted to live there? Again, we've heard with some investigation they're not supposed to be felons. This individual was a convicted felon. I live right next door. This is very personal. Bullets have no conscience of where they're going to travel. Also, they tore down the existing deck, which was mentioned before. I don't even think when they first did it, they had a permit from the city to do this work. And it was empty or gone for almost months until they came in and put a cement step. My neighbor had a beautiful cedar deck with a pergola on it. It was beautiful. They ripped that out and put in a cement step, I guess, to meet the code of the city. My concern and my neighbor's concern, we have a great neighborhood, great neighbors. My concern is the safety and how are these people being vetted? If these things that Oxford House has done, like the no permit on the deck, the moving of vehicles, and now the shootings, isn't there something by law, our laws of Wooddale, that we can get these people out of here? That's all I have to say. I wish you guys the best of luck and thank you for helping us out. We need it.
Thank you. Next, Neela? Did I say that right? Nyla. Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Nyla Fonseca. I'm at 460 Dunley Street, and I'm a mother of a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old. And right now, first of all, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and also thank you, Barbara, for representing the neighborhood. She very eloquently stated the issues that many of us are facing at this point. So what I really want to call out, in addition to what Barbara had already mentioned, is that we also have these parks, right, that were just built in the neighborhood. We have 2 of them, one at the end of the street and then one right across the street. And we would hope that we allow our tweens to go out there and congregate, and that is no longer possible. My children are no longer allowed to take the bus to school and from school because they would have to pass that house alone to get back home. We have a number of family friends in the neighborhood on the street where the children were allowed to play basketball in the driveways, right? Ride their bikes up and down the street. They are no longer allowed to do that. So what is going to be done to really vet and monitor who is in and out of this house, right? I do believe and support that everyone needs a second chance and an opportunity, but is it the right place to put it right next to the park, across the park, where there are families? And I am going to reiterate, we do pay a lot of taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, does anyone else wish to address the council? Yes, yeah, that's why I'm asking, just in case somebody thought of something.
I'm John Schwartz. I'm at 477 Dunley. I used to live at 476 Dunley, and then at Montrose. So I've been here for about 50 years and seen all the great things that everybody's done here. All these members and aldermen who put in all the time. The city's great because of you guys. The police chief and everybody. It's a quiet town. That's why this thing's so personal, because it's such a great town. And what we have here now is, for me, a tragedy, what's going on here. And what the tragedy, what I mean is, usually when citizens come to Wooddale, they tell the truth. They fill out things, they do things right, they do building permits, they tell you who's gonna be in a house, and we live cordially with each other. That's what Wooddale's about. We would know who the liars in the area is because it's a small, everybody knows each other. In this case, they haven't done anything right. They didn't even come to you to ask to do this. They didn't even ask about the building permit. They lie on the website about everything. And I understand what we're going through right now, that if this was an easy one, you guys would all take care of it. This is a hard one because they slipped through the cracks. How can we change the cracks by them doing all the lying and all the atrocities that are happening? I mean, there's a couple nights where there's a guy drunk in the bushes. My mailbox, half the time the post office can't even get to my mailbox anymore. It's never happened in 50 years of my life. I actually have to get a tape measure, see where they park and stuff. Every 3 months, there's a different person there. So I don't know what we can do there. There's not a person there for 12 months. So what I am just respectfully asking for is, if there are citizens who right off the bat can't tell you the truth, we all need to get them out. And that's the scary part. If they won't tell the truth, what will they do tomorrow? Where's the next gunshot going to go? You know, where's the next pedophile? It's at Fenn right now. You don't want to hear about this stuff in Wooddale, but it can't happen here. But I do also want to say, God bless this city, all you great people. So thank you for all you do, and we have high respect for all you do. And we are emotional because we have such a great city, and we paid money to be in the city, and then to see this and have to have 19 cameras, it's an emotional subject for her. I feel very bad, you know. And I know she came here with respect for you guys too. So thank you for all the time and service that you've given us.
Thank you. Mr. Bond, can you say a couple of words just so the residents at least know what's going on?
Yeah, and just for you, and the council doesn't comment on pending litigation, there is a matter currently pending with respect to some of the items that have been raised here today. As was indicated when this was first brought to our attention by you folks, the council looked at and we reviewed the city code to see what restrictions. There were not restrictions that would govern that. Those were put in place now so that a group home of this nature would have to go through a much more stringent process to be located there. This was in before the code changed. There have been issues. Those issues have been taken to the administrative adjudication. There's an administrative law judge who hears those matters. There's currently a matter pending in the circuit court with respect to, and I'm not going to comment on the details, and matters that are coming back before the administrative law judge with respect to those issues. So the council is very vigilant. We have some limitations on, being able to see exactly who's there and what they're doing, but we did pass a short-term rental that would prevent some of, and maybe there's some conduct that would fall within that. But the council's been very proactive within the bounds of the law of what we can do. And again, we've got a matter of pending litigation. The property has been transferred. Mr. Hellickson does not own it any further. It's owned by a management company of which he's affiliated. So, so we are keeping an eye on what's going on with that. So, and I have been in contact with a number of you, and I've had discussions with Barb, and appreciate the opportunity. And I'll keep you apprised as things move forward.
Anyone else wish to address the council? Okay. Oh yeah, you guys, if you want to go, yeah, sure, no problem. No problem. Thank you. Next, city manager report.
Nothing this evening.
Okay, consent agenda. Can I just, since it's one item, just need a motion to approve the consent agenda item A, approval
Make a motion
of
to
executive session minutes from February 15, 2024.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call.
Alderman Jacob?
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
Alderman Currielli?
Yes.
Alderman Messina? Alderman Sismarski? Alderman Hartwoods?
Yes.
Alderman Hardy-Woods?
Yes.
Okay, and that passes. Next, committee chair reports. Planning and zoning, Alderman Catalano.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Public health and safety, Alderman Currielli.
I have no report, Mayor.
Thank you. Public works, Alderman Jacob.
Several reports this evening. First one, approval of pay request number 7, final, to Performance Pipelining Incorporated for the fiscal year 2024 inflow and infiltration program in the amount of $74,230.30. That would be my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? Roll call.
Alderman Jacob?
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
Alderman Currielli?
Yes.
Alderman Messina?
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski?
Yes.
Alderman Hartwoods?
Yes.
Alderman Hardy-Woods?
Yes.
And that passes.
Next, approval of pay request number 4, final, to Markham Construction Incorporated for the Clefstead Lift Station and Force Main Improvements in the amount of $201,346.43. That'll be my motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions on this one? Roll call.
Alderman Jacob?
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
Alderman Currielli?
Yes.
Alderman Messina?
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski?
Yes.
Alderman Hartwoods?
Yes.
Alderman Hardy-Woods?
Yes.
And that passes.
Next, approval of final payment to Bear Construction for the Public Works Fitness and IT areas build out in the amount of $47,000. That'll be my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions on this one? Roll call.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, Eric. I didn't see your hand up. Go ahead.
So in the list of bills, there was bills for flooring, both material and labor in there for the, I believe it was for this, the workout room. Was that over and above the price that we're looking at here?
Who's going to take that? Mr. Lang or Mr. Wilson? Mr. Lang.
Was that under the P-card purchases?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So that was for, we purchased the flooring separately, it's that rubber square tile that fits together, and we installed that ourselves.
Okay.
Follow up?
It looked like there was a labor charge too, but I mean, we can talk, it's not gonna change.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Alderman Jacob?
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski?
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
Alderman Currielli?
Yes.
Alderman Messina?
Yes.
Alderman Hartwoods?
Yes.
Alderman Hardy-Woods?
Yes.
And that passes.
Next, approval of final payment to Corpro Companies Incorporated for the Wooddale Booster Station cathodic protection replacement in the amount of $2,000. That is my motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? Roll call.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski.
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Messina.
Yes.
Alderman Hartwoods.
Yes.
Alderman Hardy-Woods.
Yes.
And that passes.
Next, approval of a proposal from Friendly Ford for the purchase of a Ford Escape hybrid vehicle in the amount of $33,744.42. That would be my motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Questions on this one? Alderman Jacob.
Yes, on there, I noticed both of this and the next one, the vehicles were sold by the dealership. So, and it said, because of the committee or whatever. So did it not, did we miss a meeting, or was there a timeline in there that they sold the vehicle?
Mr. Lang?
So typically, we'll purchase vehicles through a purchasing cooperative such as Sourcewell or Suburban Purchasing Co-op. Unfortunately, this type of vehicle is not available under those nationally bid contracts. So for this one, we had to work directly with the dealer. So the dealer quoted us on a vehicle, but then in the time it took us to get from committee to council, they sold that vehicle. They won't hold the vehicle for us. So that's what happened in these two instances.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, roll call.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Messina.
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski.
Yes.
Alderman Hartwoods.
No.
Alderman Hardy-Woods.
Yes.
And that passes.
Next, approval of a proposal from Roche Ford for the purchase of a Ford Escape plug-in hybrid vehicle in the amount of $41,468. That would be my motion.
Second?
Motion and a second on this one. Questions on this one? Alderman Jacob?
Yeah, I forgot to ask one question before Director Lang.
Go ahead.
It said the vehicles were similar, were very similar. What were the differences, if any?
Mr. Lang?
The color was one. One was white and one was the metallic gray that is standard for our fleet.
As far as all the
Go ahead.
options and everything?
The options were all the same.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Hardy-Woods?
Can I, while you're up there really quick? Why one plug-in hybrid and one regular hybrid?
So the second vehicle, the plug-in hybrid, is one that is used more frequently than the other admin vehicles, so it might have a chance to recoup those cost savings from the fuel efficiency. So we think that might be a good candidate. We also have the infrastructure in place at the Public Works Department where this vehicle will be used to charge it overnight.
Follow up?
No, thank you.
Alderman Hartwoods?
Yeah, thanks. Feeling lonely down there. Does anybody on staff or anybody on the city council own an electric car? It's open to.
I don't. I can't speak for anyone else.
Hold on. Alderman Messina? You do?
My household does, yeah, my wife does it.
Alderman Woods?
Oh, no hybrid.
The dual. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That was, thank you. Just
Okay, let's do a roll call on that one.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Messina.
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski.
No.
Alderman Hartwoods.
No.
And Alderman Hardy-Woods.
No.
Okay. That passes. And
That would be the end of my report.
okay, thank you. Finance and Administration, Alderwoman Ames.
I have 3 reports tonight, Mayor. First is a resolution to approve the closing of Irving Park Road, Illinois Route 19 for the Memorial Day Parade. That's my
Second.
motion.
Second.
A motion and a second on that. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Next, for item 2, I believe we're going to skip that one for now. Do you want me to read it and then
No,
we'll
we'll
skip it?
we'll skip it
Okay.
to after exec session. We're going
Okay.
to recess into exec.
All right. Next is a resolution authorizing the execution of redevelopment agreement between the City of Wooddale and CIT Trucks LLC in an amount not to exceed $625,000, subject to final attorney review and approval. That is my motion.
We have a motion and a second. Whose microphone is? Oh, they're too tight? Okay. Tony was first on the second. Any questions on this? Alderman Artie Woods.
I got lots of questions, but I'll start with one. Maybe it's a new guy question, but
Shoot.
how did we get here? Maybe for the city manager and mayor. How did we get to council and skip committee? And what are the requirements for a business seeking this amount of money to do that for future companies?
Go ahead, Mr. Murmas.
Well, there's no requirement for the business to, they can request whatever they want. That's for you guys to decide if you're going to give it to them or not. As far as skipping committee, from time to time, while not the norm, we do have to skip committee for, let's say, if there's timing issues with the applicant, if we have quorum issues perhaps, while not out of the ordinary. It is out of the ordinary, but it's not unprecedented. So it does happen from time to time. We don't like to do it, but this situation, from timing with the applicant and other variables, we had to skip committee, so.
Go ahead.
Can I ask when the last time that was done?
Go ahead.
I don't know off the top of my head, but if you like, I can research every time it's been done.
What year?
I don't know.
Thank you.
Alderman Artie Woods, you were next.
For starters, the way that this whole thing is condensed and pushed down, I'm not a big fan of. I hope that we stop doing this. I won't expand anymore because I can go on for a while. But a couple things. Originally, this was said to be somewhere around 325 or 329, and we're at 625. The number went from 329 to somewhere under 400 to now 625. How does that happen? This is another thing. It comes to us last minute, right? Everything gets pushed through, the shortened time frame, you know, the amount of time it takes to go through all this paperwork, you know, it takes a little bit of time. It's just ridiculous. I for one, don't want to see it go this quickly. If the timing's bad, the timing's bad. I work with other communities. If I'm not in on time, I get pushed to the next meeting. It's just that simple. We got to get back to that. So can anybody address how we got from 329 to 625? And then after that, if the city attorney could explain a brief overview of the notes and the development agreement. I'm not sure because I've never seen this before.
Who's going to take that? Ms. Springs?
I can certainly give some background. I do have a presentation. Do you want me to answer that specific question? It's kind of contained within. So this is obviously the subject property. It's located at the northwest corner of Middle Drive and Wooddale Road. This came before you on February 1st. And that was for the zoning entitlements for 3 special uses, zoning variations, and a sign variation to allow CIT to operate a truck dealership. This is some of the items and the changes that they're going to be making to the site. At the time of the meeting that we had on February 1st, it was mentioned that we would be forthcoming with a TIF request in the future. As Alderman Woods mentions, it was estimated at that time to be much of a lower cost. The cost was to cover the public sidewalk because it's an extraordinary cost due to the length of it and the fact that we have to there's regrading of the ditch along the right-of-way, so it's much more expensive than a regular public sidewalk. Excuse me. The second reason for the TIF request is extraordinary stormwater costs. So, as mentioned, this is going to be used for a proposed truck dealership, parts sales, leasing operation, and maintenance facility. And so they needed to have a little bit more truck maneuvering area on the site. So the area in red is showing you the additional square footage that was necessary to be added to the site. By eliminating landscape islands, by expanding the parking lot a little bit, putting an extra access drive on AEC Drive over on the west side of the site, and installing the public sidewalk. So the net new impervious was 29,000 square feet, and the city's code requires on-site stormwater detention whenever there's an addition of more than 10,000 square feet. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. So while the additional pavement wouldn't really change the way the site looked very much, it did require on-site detention. What we brought before you at the February 1st meeting was a proposal by the applicant to put up at this northeast corner a stormwater detention facility, because now all this, with the changes, stormwater detention was required on site. That option involved taking some water, stormwater runoff from the Wooddale Road right-of-way, which actually traveled into this ditch and headed south. The idea was to take that water that was coming onto the private property, detain it in this new stormwater facility, because this is the highest point of the site, and so you could detain that water from the north there, and then it would get released slowly via a restrictor down through this channel, giving the stormwater for this site the ability to enter into the channel. That was a fine stormwater solution as far as our city engineer was concerned. We thought it was fine. It did require DuPage County approval. And we had requested a meeting with DuPage County to review that, but they weren't able to get a meeting for us until February 14th. Obviously, the entitlements are approved by City Council on February 1st. We had the call on February 14th, and it became quickly apparent to us that there was a lot of work that was going to be involved to convince the county that this was a viable solution for them. They weren't supportive, and with how slowly they review things, it would be months before we knew if this was a viable solution. So the developer, or CIT Trucks engineer, came up with some creative engineering designs to remove the county from the process, so that we would have the ability to approve the stormwater without any type of county intervention. All of those issues were fraught with some sort of difficulties. I'll give you just an example of 2 of the 4 options they came up with. One of them was underground storage. You're aware that's something that is often done. The idea was to put it probably here under the pavement. That would be disruptive to the operation, but it was possible. But the cost was over $1 million, and so it was cost prohibitive, that solution. Another solution was to put a big pipe in this ditch, about 24 to 30 inches in diameter. And the idea was to lay it relatively level and try to get some of the stormwater that was coming into that ditch to go uphill.
Go ahead. Doesn't that bring it back to the county, though? That's their ditch?
No, I'm sorry. That is on private property. So their water was coming onto private property into the ditch. So that didn't involve county approval, and the problem was some additional engineering was required to prove that they could send water upstream. And assuming that could be done, again, engineering calculations, there were problems with it because it was going to require more maintenance, flushing of that pipe on a regular basis, because it would be possible if there was a clog that water from there would go up the downspouts on the building and land on the roof. And that option would have standing water in the parking lot and the...
So how will the water go up the downspout onto the roof? By code, there has to be an air gap, so
I would have to defer to our city engineer, who is here this evening, to answer that question.
I'd have to hear the engineering of that.
Yeah. See?
Yeah. Paul, could you come up?
Could you state your name for us, please? Oops, sorry, state your name for us.
Sure. My name is Paul Burke, B-O-U-R-K-E. I work for Christopher Burke Engineering. We're the stormwater engineers for the city. It's a case of, you're right, the water should be, if water does back up into the system, yes, it should spill out the air gap. But it also what's going to do is would flood temporarily the loading docks as well.
Yeah,
and also what Stacy didn't mention was even with this pipe solution going backwards, you still would have to dig the detention pond up there at the northeast corner of the site to provide the volume for the water to get in there.
Go ahead, Alderman Woods, follow up.
But it wasn't. You're right. It's not a given that the water will go back up, but the obviously is it would spill over into the parking lot. But more importantly, you have water standing on the pavement. It's a trucking outfit. It might be able to withstand that, but we also don't want a situation where the water is getting into a building either. Without getting too technical, the high water elevation of that pond was at 713, which is the same elevation roughly as some of the inlets on the parking lot. It's also higher elevation than the truck dock. So operationally, so.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Springer.
There would be a very small chance of water going up and getting on the roof. That wasn't an ideal solution either. The easiest and quickest option was to install industrial pavers. Pavers are being used quite a bit now in the area in industrial applications and have been doing very well. The strength of these factory-made pavers is much stronger than asphalt, will outlast asphalt. The pavers would be put in the areas shown in blue, so they would be focused on areas where vehicles were parked. So this is where the display area for the trucks would be. Excuse me. And so those vehicles aren't going to move very often, if at all. And then this is passenger car vehicles, again, that should have no issue if these are properly installed. And so this is the option that comes up to a cost estimate of about $600,000. So this is the engineer's estimate. We were relying at the time we came to you for zoning entitlements on an estimate to do the pond with the county approval. This option, it would take maybe a day or two to get the plans ready. The calculations are very simple. They could be on their way. The problem with the timing is that, excuse me, the CIT Trucks has a lease in Bensonville that is very quickly coming up on termination, and he needs to obviously move forward and get the building ready for them to move to the site. But also, the property owner, they have given them deadlines of, by when they needed to get zoning approvals. They've extended it a couple times, and they're at the end of their extensions. So they need to sign the lease or not come to the city of Wooddale by tomorrow.
Well, they have the zoning, right? So
Alderman Woods?
they have the zoning, right? That's been passed.
Good, yeah.
Correct.
But even at that meeting, we knew there was going to be TIF money, but now
It's a little bit, it's more.
It's more because of the, yeah.
So.
Go ahead, Ms.
There was going to be.
Go ahead, Alderman Woods.
Quoting insignificant amount, 600,000, 6.25 is not insignificant to me.
Correct.
So I get what you're saying, but we've been dealing, not we, staff has been dealing with since December. Would that be correct, Mr. Murray?
Go ahead, Mr. Murmas.
Dealing with what?
Probably with CIT,
working
right?
with the team of CIT Truck to do this development.
Sure, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about stormwater, which we haven't been working on since then. Ms. Springer explained the situation, so it's a little bit different.
With the delay at the county.
To the 2 weeks
Go
before
ahead.
to figure out that we needed stormwater, right? I'm confused.
I thought she explained it well, so I'll let her do it, or I'll let the applicant speak, because they're, not me.
The way I understood it is, you tried to get a meeting with the county, and you didn't get the meeting till February 14th. That was the delay.
Correct. And then we had to figure out alternate solutions, see if they would work. That took a couple of weeks. And then preparation of the redevelopment agreement. So we got here as quickly as we possibly could.
Okay. And
I'm not going to belabor it. I just don't like the ride. It was terrible.
was there a question on the agreement?
Well, if Bond could explain it too. I've never seen the term note before in one of our agreements, so you could.
Mr. Bond?
Sure. Yeah, basically, the term note is to, this is a tenant, the agreement is for the redevelopment, and they're taking the responsibility. This is a protection for the city, that in the event, for some reason, the lease was terminated in some regard, or they abbreviated or weren't doing what they were initially what represented they were going to be doing, then that would be, they've got a note that would obligate them for that $625,000. It's a little unique. That's you're correct. But that was a layer of protection for the city's investment in this.
So final question.
Go ahead, Alderman Woods.
So that's 597. Why is this 625?
Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson.
Cover accrued interest.
Mr. Wilson.
I was going to say accrued interest. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With the nature, and to your point, how quickly this came together, all parties were, I don't want to say concerned, but just with an unforeseen issue that might arise up there, digging in certain areas that haven't been touched for a while, there might be additional spoils that need to be hauled away, or some other site condition that would just be unforeseen given the timing of this. So at a staff level, we added the extra $25,000 just for unforeseen costs. The way the agreement is written is that we're going to reimburse for actual costs. So, if the actual costs come in at the $597 and change that was on that screen, then that's all we're going to pay out. But we did request that just if something unforeseen happens. You may recall the RKC deal, we had to come back, amend the agreement, things of that nature. So trying to avoid coming back should something come up, so we just tried to build it on the front end to avoid going through this whole process again.
Alderman Messina.
I guess just some bullets or highlights just to make sure my brain is taking it all in right. So I think it was November or December we spoke to them. Couldn't get a meeting until February. Fair. It's county. You guys find that, oh wow, this is going to be a lot harder than this needs to happen. A couple of these questions that were asked answered my question, right? Like, we are protected. So if they exit the lease early, we have that language. In my opinion, it's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing having the pavers there. So to me, that's kind of an upgrade. I guess I don't see the objection, right? To me, I understand they're in a pinch. I hate to say not our problem, but to me, that's not a good neighbor, right? Like, we need to welcome you in or we lose you, right? I don't know, guys. We don't really have a choice in many ways. And
You got lots of choices.
let me finish. We have choices.
Go ahead.
No, we have choices, and I know they don't have many choices, but they are also bringing stuff to the table as well. That, like, from an economic stimulus benefit standpoint, this is not no offense, a nonprofit church or something that is bringing $0 or zero benefit to the city. So I'm for it. Thank you for just confirming what I wanted to hear, in that if they do exit early, we're protected with that. So thank you, and thank you for putting that up.
Alderman Jacob, you also have a comment or question?
Yeah, actually, it's up there. I was just going to ask what exactly the financial benefits were. But.
All right. Alderman Woods, go ahead.
Projected benefits. We all, like, those are written in stone.
No.
The first year is going to be wiped out anyway, but for them to move in and do that. So again, I just have to say, and I hope staff would agree, because if this is what it took, this is hard and choppy to put together. It's not fluid, and it's not fun up here. So I'm not picking on the company, good company, right? I don't think that that's the place for them, but that's just a personal preference. I'm not making a battle to get rid of them. It's more about how this was put together, and if I wanted to get into, they're putting in $1 million, I'm putting in 600,000. You know, the numbers you put together, the increase in value of the building, I would argue, I'm not going to do that. It's just, I have to say it again, the way this is put together, the condensed, crunched time frame, it isn't fair. I really don't want to see that again. That's it.
Alderman Hardy,
Just follow up to my original question.
Good.
I think that part got answered. So whose decision is it to put it on the agenda? Is it city manager or mayor?
Mr. Murmas, go ahead.
So I told representatives from CIT that I would unfortunately catch heat and get yelled at for skipping committee, but I thought the whole council would find it appropriate to discuss this instead of me unilaterally deciding that they're not coming to town, which would have been the choice if we did not bring this straight to council. So I thought the council would want to discuss this and see if they still were willing to bring it to town. I told CIT council doesn't like skipping committee, but we have done it. So here we are, as predicted. I get chewed out, but you get to make the final decision. I do not.
Right, but usually we get
Go
to have a
ahead,
discussion
follow.
before the final decision and then think about it for a week, not sit up here and experiment with something.
It's not an experiment. It's done many times.
It's been done.
Right, so long ago we don't remember what.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's
All right.
actually been done this week. You had about 5 other items on the agenda that skipped committee. You had vehicle purchases, you had final payments. It's done this week, so this year.
Okay.
$625,000.
No.
That started at 0?
That's, all right, let's do a vote.
Alderman.
Oh, you have a question? Go ahead, Alderman Currielli.
Could you move back a couple slides to maybe the one with the diagram of the pavers or such? The sidewalk, the purple line on the right, at the north end, it sort of just ends at the property line for the Historical Society. And the next place where it catches pavement is until Hanson, which is another property quite a ways away. So if you take a walk up that sidewalk, you're going to end up at a end of a sidewalk and have to face either grass or cross Wooddale Road. There's no pedestrian walk at that particular location. Do we have to have a sidewalk there?
One second. Ms. Springer?
I can't, I was waiting for permission.
Go ahead.
The idea is to, as we have the opportunity to put the segments in when we can. So, another option would be to collect a fee in lieu, perhaps, and, do it when we have the ability to make the full connection. But the installation of this actually reduces that gap, and we probably will have the ability at some point in the future, working with the Historical Society. The idea is to get the whole way done. Did that answer your question? Probably.
Sort of. Go ahead. I think right now it's a safety issue, because there's no way you're going to get to the end of the pavement, you're going to look for some place to cross Wooddale Road, and that could be a potential issue. I would ask to maybe amend the motion to delay construction of the sidewalk until you can complete it.
No.
Between Mattel and Hanson.
Is it a code though? That's part of our.
It is. Yeah.
Right. So in order to do that, we would have to change the code.
Right.
That's just like the park. We had to force him to do that too.
Right.
Well, this is a different
Alderman
situation.
Messina, go ahead.
Well, we've done that. We did that with the park, right? And now they're coming back. They're fulfilling their part, right? So we've done that. This is the same. They had to meet that code. No one wanted to spend that money, but they did it. But just parting words, can you put that statement up? Can you put the projections up? Call them what they are. Projections, right? These weren't funny money, right? These were based on some fact. I would just say, actually, this slide after. I thought there was another benefit slide. Well, that showed the total cost to CIT. It was like 1.2, then it was 1.7. There it is, right?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that it's clear for myself, but hopefully everybody else up here. This isn't a case of like bait and switch, or they're like, wow, they're big fans. Randy Messina's cheerleading for CIT, like, or anybody up here. It's like the dynamics changed. This isn't maybe I said it, misspoke earlier when I said like, oh, we have no choice. No, they kind of had no choice, and they had that unexpected expense. So it was projected to be 1.193. You get on the phone with DuPage County Water, you realize, oh wow, this is gonna get expensive, and then there's two options. And so this isn't just the city eating that cost. There is incurred cost for them as well that was not anticipated. Am I reading this correctly? So in order for this deal to happen, the numbers still stay the same, but the figures essentially went up a little bit for all of us, basically, both sides.
Yes. Yes.
We're just subsidizing some of this.
Yes.
And we'll get it back tenfold. God willing, you sell some, right? God, we'll get it back tenfold. So, to me, this is telling right here. This isn't a bait and switch. They had incurred costs that went up.
Nobody said it was a big
All right. Alderman Artie Woods.
I don't know who can answer this, but sales tax on trucks sold to people who live out of state, does that work similar to sales of a car where you pay your state that you live in, or how does that work?
Who can answer that?
And I guess how often are people buying trucks from out of state? Maybe that's not common.
Maybe the,
Could you go to the podium?
go ahead.
I think it's worth.
If you could just,
Year one, two.
just state your name for the record, please.
Okay. I'm Eric Miner with CIT Trucks. That's a good question, Artie. There are exemptions in what we sell. UCC exemptions for any parts or trucks sold into interstate commerce. So when we look at all of our sales, then that is not all subject to sales tax. Only those who are intrastate, and so they pay on the trucks. They pay on the parts. I think I mentioned it last time. Seldom do we have any labor that is taxable, but so I don't know if I'm answering your question exactly the way you put it.
Mr. Alderman Artie Woods.
Just in generic speak, so if I live in Indiana and I'm a truck driver and I
Correct.
come to you and buy a truck, am I paying, is Wooddale getting any tax on that?
Wooddale would not get sales tax on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It runs by,
Good.
they have to have a UCC exempt number. So we have to check that, and that has to be on file. Otherwise, they actually would pay tax. If they don't give us a UCC number, then they would pay tax. But technically, the way you're asking it, yeah, they would be out of state. They would, if they're crossing state lines on a certain percentage of their hauls, they would be entitled to a UCC exemption.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Roll call.
Alderwoman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Messina.
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski.
Yes.
Alderman Artwoods.
No.
Alderman Artie Woods.
No.
Okay, that passes.
And that concludes my report,
Better
other than the pending item.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Next, under other business, airport noise and stormwater. Not this evening. I need approval of list of bills. Alderwoman Ames.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the list of bills for March 7th, 2024, in the amount of $628,695.22.
Second.
Any questions on the bills? Roll call.
Alderwoman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Messina.
Yes.
Alderman Artwoods.
Yes.
Alderman Artie Woods.
Yes.
And that concludes my report.
And that passes. We do need to recess this evening into executive session. Oh, Mr. Bond.
Just real quick, just for clarification, redevelopment agreements generally are subject to final attorney review and approval, I assume. objection to that, on that redevelopment agreement.
No, she said that.
I got it.
So we need to recess into exec session to review the official minutes, pending litigation, and land disposition. Do I have a motion to recess?
I'll make the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're recessed.
Jeff.
Okay, I'd like to call the city council meeting back to order. Let the minutes reflect all members are still present. Alderwoman Ames.
I have one additional report, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion for a resolution authorizing the approval and execution of an agreement for purchase of the real estate commonly identified as 310 East Irving Park Road, Wooddale, DuPage County, Illinois. And that is my motion.
Second.
That work for you? Just hold on one sec, Mr. Bond.
And just if you include the purchase price on that, as well as the $438,000.
Oh, do I need to amend that?
That's an amendment, yes.
Okay.
And Alderman Sismarski?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So roll call.
Did we state what the amount was?
Yeah, yes, 438. All right, roll call.
Alderwoman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Messina.
Yes.
Alderman Artwoods.
Yes.
Alderman Artie-Woods.
Yes.
Okay, and that passes.
And that concludes my report.
Okay, we need a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Or adjourned?